Catcher in the Rye. Why does Holden Caulfield cling to the innocence of children? Holden clings to the innocence of children because he lost his innocence at a very young age and likes to see others enjoying themselves as he should have. In this following presentation, we will present all the examples of innocence/loss of innocence and analyze each event. We will then bring in various criticisms and perspectives related to our topic. We will finish with a milieu and a conclusion of everything we've gone through. The first example of loss of innocence is Phoebe reaching for the ring on the carousel. You can try and prevent the loss of innocence, but once it has started, there is really no way to stop it. All the kids kept trying to grab for the gold ring, and so was old Phoebe. And I was sort of afraid she'd fall off the goddamn horse, but I didn't say or do anything. The thing with kids is, if they want to grab for the gold ring, you have to let them do it and not say anything. If they fall off, they fall off, but it's bad if you say anything to them. This is on page 232. The second example of innocence/loss of innocence is Holden's dream of being the catcher in the rye. Anyway, I kept picturing all these little kids playing some game in this big field of rye and all. Thousands of little kids and nobody's around. Nobody big, except me. And I'm standing on the edge of some crazy cliff. What I have to do? I have to catch everybody if they start to go over the cliff. If they're running and they don't look where they're going and I have to come out from somewhere and catch them. That's all I do all day. I just be the catcher in the rye and all. This is on page 191. The third example of innocence/loss of innocence is the boy humming on the street. The car zoomed by, brakes screeched all over the place. His parents paid no attention to him and he kept on walking next to the curb and singing, if a body catch a body coming through the rye. It made me feel better. It made me feel not so depressed anymore. Holden pays close attention to this because it reminds him of what he lost as a kid. The fourth example of innocence/loss of innocence is when asked to write a descriptive journal about anything he wanted, Holden chooses Allie and his baseball mitt. This shows how Allie and the mitt were the first and most vivid image that came to his mind. Allie was one of the few things that Holden liked. What? I said to old Phoebe. She said something to me, but I didn't hear. You can't even think of one thing. Yes, I can. Well, do it then. I like Allie, I said. For instance, when asked by Phoebe about the only thing Holden likes, he said Allie. Allie's death was a big blow and probably further ruined his innocence. The fifth example is he hates when people write F you, another F you. It was written with a red crayon or something right under the glass part of the wall under the stones. That's the whole trouble. You can't ever find a place that's nice and peaceful because there isn't any. Holden shows strong emotions toward those people who do anything to try and harm the innocence of children. He feels protective and does not wish for little kids to have contact with bad words. The sixth example. The prostitute, Sunny, old enough to know better, she said. She was real witty. You got a watch on ya? She asked me again, and then she stood up and pulled her dress over her head. I certainly felt peculiar when she did that. She did so sudden and all. I know you're supposed to feel pretty sexy when somebody gets up and pulls their dress over their head, but I didn't. Sexy was about the last thing I was feeling. I felt much more depressed than sexy. Holden is sad that Sunny is a prostitute at such a young age and that she was no longer innocent. The seventh example of innocence/loss of innocence is the museum is a window to his childhood. The best thing, though, in that museum was that everyone always stayed right where it was. Nobody'd move. You could go there 100,000 times and that Eskimo would still be just finished catching those 2 fish, and the birds would still be on their way south. The deers would still be drinking out of that water hole with their pretty antlers and their pretty skinny legs, and that squaw with the naked bosom would still be weaving that same blanket. Nobody would be different. The only thing that would be different would be you. Not that you'd be much older or anything. It wouldn't be that exactly. You'd just be different, that's all. You'd have an overcoat on this time. Or the kid that was your partner-in-law the last time had got scarlet fever and you'd have a new partner. Or you'd have a substitute taking the class instead of Miss Egeltinger. Or you'd heard your mother and father having a terrific fight in the bathroom, or you just passed by one of those puddles in the street with gasoline rainbows in them. I mean, you'd be different in some way. I can't explain what I mean, and even if I could, I'm not sure I'd feel like it. Perspectives. The first perspective is the psychology developmental stages. When Miss Burney, a psychology teacher at Princess Anne High School, was asked about the effect traumatizing events such as molestation, grief, and possible neglect could have on a children's developmental stages, she said that these events would definitely cause longer-term effects and possibly even cause skips in the Erikson's 8 stages of development. She says that there are many detrimental effects to a person's mind that will leave scars. Being very young also made these effects worse and longer lasting. The second perspective is the Gale criticism. Allison cites Baumbach when he says that Holden wants to be the saint that saves and protects everyone from losing their innocence. He states that the world has turned into such chaos that the only thing Hayden can do to survive is a retreat into the childhood which he finds his sister and other children. This is exemplified by Holden's dream of being the catcher in their eye, saving children from falling off the cliff. This cliff is a symbol of innocence, and Holden sees himself as one to save the children from growing up too fast. Also, Holden's hatred towards the profanity written on the wall is an example of the impurity in the world that Holden has grown to hate. The third perspective is lawyer John Venner. When asked about the youth that has become more and more mature in terms of substance abuse and simply use, Mr. Venner states that he has seen an increasing rate of juveniles getting in trouble with serious crimes. Modern society makes the younger generation more accustomed to the use of substances such as alcohol or tobacco, which is a big part in why Holden no longer has his innocence. He realizes the negative effects that come with that, and he tries to prevent the mistakes that he made from happening to the young kid that he knows. The next perspective is a Gale criticism. Throughout the novel, Holden experiences a shift away from his adolescence toward adulthood. It is this shift that he is afraid of, as he knows that innocence leaves as it occurs. He wants to prevent this growth so that the innocence of the children around him can be preserved, despite this desperate wanting. Holden finds that he cannot be the catcher because there must be many difficulties while one grows up. This idea is really shown when Phoebe is on the carousel reaching for the golden ring. Holden realizes that children are always going to get into trouble and that losing innocence is a part of growing up. That cannot be avoided no matter how badly he wants it to. Throughout The Catcher in the Rye, Holden Caulfield is shown to be worried about children's loss of innocence because of his own experiences as a child. As a teenager, he has already lost his innocence, but he feels as though he can protect the innocence of others. He dreams of being the catcher in the rye so that he can protect others because he thinks that he needs to preserve the innocence of others because he lost his innocence so early. He doesn't want young people to be exposed to trouble because he knows that once innocence starts to slip away, it will eventually be gone for good. As the novel continues, though, he starts to realize that no matter what he or anyone else does, loss of innocence is an unavoidable part of growing up. When Phoebe reaches for the golden ring on the carousel, he says that children are always going to try and reach the golden rings of life, and that they will fall sometimes, but it is important to let them fail. He because it would be worse to try and stop them. This moment is when he finally comes to the conclusion that innocence, while a beautiful part of childhood, can't be preserved forever.